The engine's all back in. Yes. Massive thank you to Si from next door. Him and his engine hoist basically is what got it. I couldn't have done it without him basically. Pulling it out is easy enough. You just make a few noises, hump and grunt a bit, and you know it's out, it's on the floor. Putting it back in, that's a different story because it's all got to line up just so you can get the bolts and everything else in. So the engine is in, which is brilliant news. The only trouble is it's all got to come back out again. Alright, I need a brew and a sit down for this one. Right, okay, so what's the problem? Well, the engine all went in, I'll say went in quite happily. That was a lot of huffing and puffing, but all the ancillary stuff has been bolted back on, so clutch slave cylinder and blah blah blah. Threw a chain on it, lined up all the back wheel, blah blah blah. And I thought, right, let's just make sure we can get some gears out of this. So I hooked up the gear shift, and I was just going to rock the back wheel and try going through the gears and see what's what. And if you rock it, you know, in neutral, you can up it into first and second and blah, blah, blah. And gears is definitely there. So the gearbox is working. However, the back wheel doesn't spin as freely as it used to. Like, it is quite a bit stiffer, which is not a good thing. Well, not in this case anyway. So something is going on. So the trouble with all this is, I mean, I've been putting in some massive bloody days on this, like really big days. And it's taken an awful lot of time just because I'm filming it and trying to capture everything and explain what's what and blah de blah de blah. If I just got the spanners out and had at it, it would have been done in, you know, a fraction of the time basically. But filming stuff and explaining what I'm doing and why I'm doing it that way and how it's ended up and blah, 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 it just takes ages. It just drags everything out. But I wanted to capture everything because there's bugger all videos on ZZRs. They're just in. You know, so it has dragged it out. And that means that all the filming that I've done, I've just got a backlog of stuff to edit. So by the time you get to see the video, a couple of days has gone past. Anyways, yesterday, a video went up where I was sticking, or yeah, a couple of videos went up, but one of them was me sticking the cases back on the gearbox. Didn't have the clutch pack in, torqued it all down and everything else, but then I couldn't move the input shaft, couldn't rotate it by hand. And I stupidly dismissed it as like, oh, well, it must be in gear. And that one tried to turn over the whole engine, but the whole point of a clutch, it didn't even twig. I don't know why it didn't twig, but the whole point of the clutch is it separates the gearbox from the engine so you can shift gear, doesn't it? And I didn't get that. So it's at that point, I think, that something went wrong. And I don't know what. I know I had troubles with, there's a cap on the end of the, where is he? There we go. So I had troubles with this bearing cap. This is the input shaft. This is the old one. The bearing cap goes on there and it's got this little hole in it, little sort of dink in it there. The other one's just an oil feed. And that locates on a peg in the crankcase to obviously, you know, stop this rotating or locate it properly or something. It probably does both actually. And then on the bearing at this end, there's a groove that there's a keeper that runs in. So the keeper is just like a sliver of a sliver of metal that sits in a groove on the crankcase, and it engages in that that groove on the bearing, so it's all basically held where it needs to be. But when I was monkeying about trying to get the clutch drum back on, this was shifting, that popped out, you know, the peg popped out of that hole, and then I was having troubles getting the cases all to line up, monkeying about with it and all sorts, and eventually got all the cases and everything else to sit down. But I can't help but think it's at that point that something went a bit Pete Tong. I'm dead happy with the, you know, the gearbox teeth and dogs and all that stuff. That's all fine. I'm just convinced I put it together wrong, basically. I've done something, I've nipped something or restricted something, and it's just binding up. Now, yes, you can rotate the wheel. Yes, it does take effort to do it. Some people would probably go, oh, just run it, bed it in, it'll be fine. I don't want to do that. The whole reason for taking all this off was because I found bits of metal in the bottom of the sump. I don't want to be putting new bits of metal in the bottom of the sump. And apart from that, it's just not right. It's not how it's supposed to be. So I've cocked up somewhere, and now I'm going to pay the price, because I've got to undo what I did the other day, take all this lot out, drop the engine out and have another go. But you know, it is what it is, isn't it? I should have just, when I got to that point and I couldn't spin the input shaft with it in neutral, with no clutch pack in it, I should have just stopped and gone, right, what have I done? What's gone wrong? What's not sitting right? And I didn't, I just carried on. So I cocked up, basically. It is annoying. It is proper annoying. There's been so much work gone into this so far. Trouble is, the van's off the road. I needed to get this done. I've put all this work in, and somewhere in the middle I've made a mistake, and I've just got to go back and undo it. You know, there is no other choice. That's just what I've got to do. There was some fella who commented, well, there's been quite a few comments actually. There's been loads of people chipping in. A lot of it is all encouragement, which is mega. You know, that was really cool. But there's loads of people chipping in with help because they know it's my first engine. I ain't done this before. I am learning. I've made a mistake. Hold my hands up to that one, and now I'm going to fix it. But there's loads of people who is chipping in and trying to help out, and you know, things like, oh, did you put a gasket on it? Yes, I put a gasket on it. And you can't, but you know, it's like, I know I've done it, but you know, people are just trying to help basically, which is that's half the beauty of YouTube, is that people can help from a distance. There was one fella who chipped in, Ant K, he was the first one, saying, well, you should be able to spin that shaft. And then there was a load of other people that also chipped in, going, oh, I'd be a bit worried about that if I was you. Or no, you definitely should be able to spin it. You should spin freely and easily and blah de blah de blah. But I thought, because I should have checked. I should have just stopped what I was doing and just checked. But the thing is, with time that's limited as it is, you just have to crack on and get stuff done. It takes so much time to film all this stuff. You know, I could be in here for, I don't know, 6 hours or something in the morning, something like that. But that doesn't mean there's 6 hours work getting done, because you have to position the camera so that, you know, you at home can see what I'm up to. And then as I'm doing stuff, I'm trying to explain what I'm doing and why, so you get the idea. So if I've got it wrong, you can tell me. And just trying to cover everything as far as the build goes. Because there aren't any videos on ZZRs, it might help someone. You know, you just don't know. So that all takes ages. And then once you've finished all that and you've gone off and done your day job and you get home at midnight, you know, you're looking at all this footage going, oh, God, I've got to get that done. I'm literally filling the laptop up. I've got an external drive that I'm having to dump stuff on, because there is so much footage that I can't stick it all on the laptop. So I'm just sticking enough on to do the next video, doing it, then binning that off and copying the next load over, and so on and so forth. And it all just takes time. And it's time that I haven't got. if I'm honest. I haven't got it. You know, it's important that the bike gets back on the road, because otherwise I'm not mobile. So we're having a bit of a change up. I think, and I am guessing now, I'm convinced, absolutely convinced, it's at the point where I put those cases together and everything kind of like nipped up a bit. So it could be, I don't think there's any, I need to go through and have a look, but it could be that that has to be a certain length and it ain't. It could be that it's shimmed, but it's shimmed for a different set of cases because this came out of a different bike. So, you know, it could be that everything's getting squashed down and that's where it's all binding up. I really don't know. But I need to get to the bottom of it. So I need to get in there and see what's what. So we're changing things up just a little bit. So you've already seen loads of videos on taking this off and putting it back on again and what the problem was and basically fitting stuff back together and all that sort of stuff. The procedure is sound. I know it is, because I was following the manual literally step by step. It's just that when I've got to a certain point, either something's the wrong size or something's not quite right or something like that, and that's what I need to find out. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to film the next bit. You've already seen me take the engine out. You've already seen me tear its guts out. You've already seen me get down to the gearbox. I just need to get it done and get it sorted. And the thing that's prompted this is that there was a fella who commented, I can't remember what his name is. It's a recent comment anyway. And he goes, oh, bless him. Alan Millyard would have had that apart in like an hour and rebuilt without a manual. But you've got to start somewhere. And he's right. Alan Millyard, as far as I know, has done quite a few engines. I've not watched the fella because it's, you know, whatever, it's not really my thing. This is my first engine. So, you know, time has been spent reading the manual and then doing it and then checking it and then doing the next bit and so on and so on, and then filming it and repositioning the camera and explaining what you just done and why and blah, blah, blah. If you can cut all that stuff out, you save loads of time. Loads of time. And because I've been in there once already, it's now familiar ground. I know the order that stuff needs to come off in, and I know how it comes off. You know, I know, like, just bagging the bolts up and stuff. So here's the thing you took off, and there's the bolts for it. Stick it in the bag and stick it over there. You know, it simplifies putting things back together because you don't end up with a big pile of bolts going, right, which one's going to fit? It's right there. It's relatively easy. You know, not using noisy tools for the video because it messes the sound up. Doing it all with a hand ratchet and all that sort of, well, I'll just get the impact gun on stuff and whiz stuff off and I'll be dead quick. So that's what I'm going to do. So it is now Friday, just so you know. I've got the weekend. Well, I've certainly got Saturday. I don't know about Sunday because we're on holiday on Monday. We're off to Turkey for a week, so nothing is happening next week. But I need to get as much done as I possibly can do. So I'm not going to be filming it. I'm just going to be... I need a mate to help me get it out and get it on the bench. But then I'm literally just pulling it apart and I'm having at it, just end of. I might do some time-lapse stuff just because that takes no editing at all. And then when we get down to the bit where I'm pulling the cases off, to get into the gearbox, at that point I'll bring you back and we'll have a poke about and see what I've done wrong. And if I can find the problem and what's causing it and why, then obviously I'll explain all that. We'll fix it, and then it'll probably be a time-lapse or whatever, just sticking it all back together again. If we get to poignant bits about, right, I've shoved all this lot in, now I'm just going to check it and make sure everything works, I'll bring you back for that bit just so you can see. Don't worry, I will put all the gaskets on. Some of the gaskets that you're saying aren't there are actually there, but they're grey ones, they're not green ones, so they don't stand out quite so much, but the gaskets are there, and I've ordered all new gaskets as well, just because I'm having these off and those ones have been squished, so I'm just going to replace them basically. But I want to try and get it back together again as soon as possible, so it means I'm not going to be filming all of it. Just so you know, I need it working, and that's an end to it. So that's where we are. Valiant attempt, but failed miserably. I didn't fail miserably, but it's not working, so it is a failure. Well, I mean, what can you say? I goosed up. I did mess up somewhere, and I'm going to fix it. That's my first engine. It's also going to be my second engine. Which, you know, it's not a bad thing, actually. I'm really, really, really keen to learn how to pull an engine apart and how it all works and how to put it back together again. So I'm looking at this as just practice. You know, I get to do it again. Whereas, you know, if it was all together and it was all working and everything else, then the next engine would have been Asbo. But, you know, I get to have another go before I get to Asbo now. So it's not a bad thing. You know, I'm not going to get narky and all that lot about it. It's frustrating that it's not done, because I really wanted it done before I went on my holiday. That's clearly not going to happen. But I'm not narky about it, just because it's, you know, it's another bit of practice. It's another chance to get familiar with the engine. It's another chance to see everything again. You know, I'm still going to be using manuals and everything else to do my checks and measures. Like, I didn't properly measure the stack of gears and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if there's supposed to be an end float to it. It's one thing that Andy mentioned, but I didn't see it in the manual. So I didn't obviously check it. I mean, maybe there is and I've just missed it. I don't know. But it's my chance to go through and do it again, do it properly, do it right, get it done, get it back together again, and then we can just carry on with the rest of it. So, you know, there's no point getting mad, is there? There's no point. It's just going to ruin my day if I do. Well, at least my bench is clear to put all the bits back on again, eh? Right, so that's it. This is going to be a really short video, purely because there's only 4 bits I've got to splice together and publish the video, so the editing's down to a minimum, but I'm just going to crack on and get this done. I'm probably going to pull the front fairing off as well, just because I need to get that over to Jack so he can do his thing. That's fine. He can also have the tank, because that'll clear up a little bit more bench space, but that needs to be repainted, that needs to be fixed and then repainted, and he can be doing that whilst I'm on holiday. That's all cool. As far as the shocks and stuff goes, I'm not going to give Simon Rolls the rear shock, because it's working quite happy. There's no leaks or anything else, and it is working quite happy. I would like to get it serviced, because I don't know when it was last serviced, but that's going to have to wait until the bike is done and dusted and I'm using that sort of on a regular basis, and the van has got its MOT, because that way I can go, well, I'll just take the shock out and use the van for the few days that he's got the shock. That's fine. But I'm going to get the engine sorted and then we'll be moving on to brakes. I just need to get the fairings off and get them over to Jack, so he can be kept busy whilst I'm off on holiday doing bugger all, apart from laying like that and going bright red and drinking beer. So anyway, that's it. That's where I'm going to leave it for this one. And I'm going to leave you on a low note. But there is nothing else I could do. I'm not running the bike like that because the back wheel isn't spinning like it should be. So clearly there is something wrong. And I'm just not going to chance it. It's my bike at the end of the day. Why would you do that? I don't get it. You know, I'm sure it's not just a wheel bearing. I'm sure it's not. Because it was all fine before, and the only thing that I've done is monkey about with the engine. So I haven't touched the bearing. It ain't going to be the bearing that's at fault. It can't be. But anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it for this one. Thank you ever so much for watching. I do hope you're well and staying safe, and I'll see you on the next one. Laters!